They're the ones who watch everything, react to nothing, and leave no trace. You know them. Maybe you are them. The people who scroll but never post, who see your life update but never share their own, who ghost entire platforms for months, then suddenly like something at 3 in the morning, like they were never really gone at all. And here's the thing everyone gets wrong about them. They're not just private. They're not just introverted. They're operating from a completely different psychological framework than the rest of us. And once you understand it, you can't unsee it. Let's start here. Most people treat social media like a conversation. They share, they update, they perform a version of themselves they want others to see. It's reciprocal, it's social. But the people who don't post, they treat it like surveillance. They're gathering data. They're watching the patterns. They know who broke up before the official announcement. They know who's faking happiness. They know who's spiraling. And they never, ever reveal what they know. That's not aloofness, that's strategy, and it comes from somewhere deep. If this is hitting a little too close, go ahead and subscribe. This channel is basically a mirror you didn't ask for, but probably need. Here's what research shows. People who abstain from posting often score higher in what psychologists call self-monitoring and impression management awareness. Basically, they're hyper-conscious of how they're perceived, but instead of performing to control that perception, they withdraw to protect it. Dr. Mark Leary, who studies self-presentation, talks about this as a kind of preemptive vulnerability management. You can't be misunderstood if you never speak. You can't be judged for what you never reveal. It's not confidence, it's control, and it's usually learned young. Because let's be honest, most of these people didn't just decide one day that Instagram wasn't for them. They learned early that visibility has consequences. Maybe they were the kid whose emotions were used against them. Maybe they overshared once and got burned. Maybe they watched someone else get torn apart for being too much, too honest, too visible, and they thought, yeah, not me. So they went quiet, and that quietness became a fortress. But here's the paradox. The people who don't post, they're often the most emotionally intelligent people in the room. They notice everything. They read subtext like it's printed in bold. They know what you're not saying. They can tell when your "I'm fine" is a lie from across a text thread. And that's exactly why they don't post. Because they know how much people reveal without meaning to. They've seen the performance. They've clocked the desperation. And they refuse to participate. There's a kind of quiet superiority in it, even if they'd never say it out loud. It's the emotional equivalent of, I see your game, and I'm not playing. Let me paint you a picture. You're at a party. Everyone's talking, laughing, performing, and there's one person in the corner, watching. Not awkward, not uncomfortable, just watching. They're taking it all in, the dynamics, the insecurities, the who's trying too hard and who's pretending not to care. And at the end of the night, they'll remember everything, but they'll have said almost nothing. That's the person who doesn't post. They're the corner watcher of the internet, and they like it that way. Because posting requires belief. Belief that people care. Belief that your life is worth broadcasting. Belief that you won't be misunderstood, mocked, or ignored. And a lot of these people stopped believing that a long time ago. Not because they're pessimists, because they're realists. They've done the math. They know that most people scroll past most things. They know that engagement is performative. They know that even your closest friends are half listening at best. So why bother? Why contribute to a system that rewards noise over substance, frequency over depth, image over truth? And here's where it gets complicated. Because while they're protecting themselves, they're also isolating themselves. Psychologist Sherry Turkle talks about this in her work on digital connection. She says we're moving toward a place where we're alone together, where we observe each other's lives but never truly enter them. And the people who don't post, they're the end game of that trend. They see you, but you don't see them. They know your life, but you don't know theirs. And over time, that asymmetry creates distance, real distance, the kind that's hard to cross even in person. I want you to think about your own life for a second. How many people do you follow who never post? How many people do you actually know, but only through their silence? You might care about them, you might even miss them, but do you reach out? Probably not, because their silence feels like a boundary. And maybe it is. Maybe that's exactly what they want. But maybe it's also a test, a quiet, unspoken test to see who cares enough to cross the gap. If that just unlocked something, drop a comment. Tell me if you're the one who doesn't post, or if you know someone who is. Let's actually talk about this. Now, let's talk about relationships, because this is where the psychology really shows up. People who don't post are often deeply loyal, but selectively so. They don't have hundreds of shallow friendships. They have 3 people they die for, and everyone else is just context. They're not rude, they're just reserved. And in romantic relationships, they're the ones who remember everything you said 6 months ago, but won't tell you they love you in front of other people. They show love through action, through memory, through presence, but rarely through declaration. And if you're someone who needs public affirmation, someone who wants to be posted about, tagged, celebrated, you're going to feel unseen. Because to them, love isn't a performance, it's private, it's sacred, and putting it online feels like desecration. But here's the kicker. They judge you for posting. Maybe not consciously, maybe not meanly, but there's a part of them that sees your need for validation and feels a little bit sorry for you, a little bit superior, because they don't need that. They've transcended that. Or at least that's what they tell themselves. But the truth? The truth is they're just afraid. Afraid of being seen and found lacking. Afraid of trying and failing. Afraid of being vulnerable in a space that rewards cruelty and forgets kindness. And that fear? That's the cost. Because while they're protecting themselves from judgment, they're also cutting themselves off from connection, from spontaneity, from the possibility that maybe, just maybe, someone out there would see them and understand. Not perform, not pretend, just see them. And that's the tragedy of it. The people who understand others the most are often the least understood themselves. So if you're one of these people, here's what I want you to know. Your silence is not a weakness. Your refusal to perform is not a flaw. You're not broken for wanting privacy in a world that monetizes exposure. But don't let your protection become a prison. Don't let your awareness become isolation. Because the world needs people like you. People who think before they speak. People who value depth over noise. People who refuse to reduce their lives to content. You're the ones who remind the rest of us that there's still something sacred left, that not everything has to be shared to matter, that some things, the most important things, are meant to be felt, not posted. If this made you feel seen, subscribe. There's more where this came from. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, send it to them. Not as a call-out, as a recognition. Because sometimes the quietest people are carrying the loudest truths.